Good afternoon. In Reading Town Centre, outside the train station, BBC Radio Berkshire, live on Facebook, and something quite unusual is happening. It's the 1st of July, 100 years to the day since the first day of the Battle of the Somme, the most infamous day of World War I. And just outside Reading Station, if you just take a look over here, we have a troop of soldiers in authentic World War I dress, and they're handing out these cards to people by the look of things. We'll have a wander over and see what they're up to in a moment, but there's a lady just over here who's had a word with them. Let's go and have a chat to her. Hello.
Hi.
You've stumbled across this the same as we have.
Yes, it's really surprising. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I went and spoke to one of them and asked them what they were doing, and they are giving the cards out, and they all seem to be representing a different soldier killed on the first day of the Battle of the Somme.
Have you got your card? Yeah, let's have a look at what they're handing out to people.
So
just digging away in the phone case.
Private Nelson Waterfall, 12th Battalion, York and Lancaster Regiment, died at the Somme on 1st of July 1916, aged 19 years. And it's got a hashtag WeAreHere, but I haven't actually been on Twitter yet to have a look at it. But I'm guessing, yeah, it's some sort of project, but it's quite amazing, and yeah, very sad actually, to be honest, to see these guys dressed up in First World War uniforms and imagining actually just 100 years ago it was real men going and losing their lives on the first day of the Battle of the Somme. So yeah, it's incredibly sad.
And they'd have left from train stations just like Reading. It wouldn't have looked like this back in 1916,
exactly.
But
no, it certainly wouldn't. I'm sure they'd be quite surprised if they were here now to see the world today. But yeah, it's very, very moving, and lots of people seem to be looking at them and asking them for their cards. So yeah, interesting.
Thank you for your time. Have a good day. It's certainly something that people, obviously just milling around waiting for a train, aren't expecting to see. Let's take a wander over and just see what happens when we approach one of these soldiers. Well, I'd say sort of 24 of them, and it's very dramatic. They just marched in here about 10 minutes ago in lines, as they would have done as they were going to the front. Let's just see if we can have a chat with this guy here. Hello. We're here from BBC Radio Berkshire, just wanting to find out what's going on. Silent. He's just handed me this card. Thank you very much. So the card he's handed me here is very similar to the one we've just seen. Private Adam Scott, the 16th Battalion, the Highland Light Infantry, died at the Somme on the 1st of July 1916, exactly 100 years ago today, aged 28 years. And then this hashtag WeAreHere. This is really... There are a number of remembrance projects going on across the country today, but this is the most dramatic one, I think, that I've seen. See people just strolling over to the uniformed soldiers who aren't speaking. I've not seen any of them talk to anyone so far, and they're handing out these cards, and these men just seem to be ordinary guys, very much like the soldiers would have been back in 1916. They were ordinary men, and we know of at least one from Reading, from around these parts, who was on his way to work. He was fixing the roads actually around Windsor, and he saw a friend of his on his way who was going to sign up, and he decided, well, I'll do the same. He responded to those famous posters, "Your country needs you," with Lord Kitchener's mustachioed face, and that was that. And suddenly these ordinary men found themselves in the middle of the bloodiest day in British military history. On this day 100 years ago, 59,000 British soldiers were wounded, and it was happening right now to the very second 100 years ago. More than 19,000 British soldiers were killed on this day, and from the Royal Berkshire Regiment there were 250 on the first day who lost their lives. Just move out of the way of this van that's coming through. Modern life continuing on the forecourt. I'm really keen to try and talk to somebody else who's received one of these cards. There are some people just standing around and watching. Let's see if we can have a chat with this guy here. The juxtaposition between the uniformed soldiers and people just wheeling their cases along is quite remarkable. Let's try this lady here. Excuse me, I'm from BBC Radio Berkshire, and we're just reacting, as I'm sure you are, to these soldiers who are sat around us.
Yes, I think it's about the battlefields, you know, that they had in the First World War. And yeah, it's quite. I've just got off the train, so I think it's quite interesting, really. I don't know. Are they from a school or cadets?
No, nobody knows. All they're doing, they're just handing out these cards with names of soldiers who died on the first day of the Somme 100 years ago today.
Yes.
You just got on the train. I'm sure this was the last thing you were expecting to see.
Exactly. But it's interesting. It's interesting. It makes people think about things, doesn't it? Yes. Yeah. I hope people do remember that it was a horrible time. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time.
That's all right.
Take care. I want to take a really close look at the uniform that this soldier is wearing. It's so accurate. So we've got the gold insignia here on his lapel, and this is all they had. Bear in mind the soldiers 100 years ago. This is what protected them from the raft of machine gun bullets that would have been raining down on them. Nothing more really for protection than just the cloth and the cotton of the uniform. We know that they had very limited rations each day, just a bottle of water. And we always think of the mud, don't we, in World War One? Look at the shoes that they would have worn at that point. These aren't waterproof in any way, shape or form. And this is just cotton. In the face of a German machine gun, that really wouldn't have done anything. I wonder if, I know you're handing out cards, I wonder if there's another one that we could just take a look at. Thank you very much. These are soldiers from all over the country. They're not just ones from the Royal Berkshire Regiment, but this is Private Basil Ernest Scrivener from the 1st and 2nd Battalion of the Royal Fusiliers. He was only 22 when he died in the fields of northern France on the 1st of July 1916. This really is such a poignant and dramatic way of remembering these soldiers, and it really has stopped everybody in their tracks. There are people over there, ladies going on a hen do, who are watching, and now they appear to be lining up, all falling into rank. One takes his hat off and strokes his hair, and these soldiers now, in a really poignant reenactment of what would have been happening on train stations all over the country 100 years ago, are walking into Reading Station, through the barriers and onto the trains. Well, silence is such a powerful way of remembering people, and those silent soldiers have made everybody here in Reading Town Centre this afternoon, 100 years on from the Battle of the Somme, using no words whatsoever, just these tiny cards, remember the sacrifice of tens of thousands of men who died 100 years ago today. Well, thank you for joining us on Facebook Live with BBC Radio Berkshire this afternoon. A really remarkable scene at Reading Station, and one I don't think we're ever going to see again.